in Oakland. Kanitha Matoury on the line with us. Kanitha, great to have you. Glad we could connect tonight so that you can talk about the struggles you've been facing here over the past few months. Obviously, the crash, we see it on surveillance video. It's devastating. Yeah. It caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage to your store right there at 17th and Webster. Why has it been so challenging to get the repairs done at your place and to reopen the market?
I think due to a couple of different things. It's a lot of skilled labor workers are having a lot of pressure in terms of small contractor like myself are now having to work for themselves because they are so short of skilled labor. So I have a couple that cancel on me, and I have to pretty much scramble and find people on the last minute. That's one. And supply chain interruption is another one that we're having a lot of problem with in terms of we ordered the whole entire front door, but it still haven't shown up after many months. And I think it's just a multiple different reasons. And of course the pandemics and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about what it's been like for you trying to survive, one, amid the pandemic, and then now this crash.
Oh, so many things that I have to do with, you know, my restaurant next door for 14 years. I have to kind of shut that down, which is right next door to the market. And, you know, having to constantly pivot and then dealing with just a lot of restless energy on the street between like mentally ill and, you know, keeping up with everything. And then, of course, this crash that happened, and really hard to find people to come and work or wanting to do work in general. It's been kind of a struggle. It's a multiple thing all at the same time.
While you try to repair the damage, of course, you're still having to pay rent on the place and pay your utility bills as well. Can you talk a bit about how much money you're having to shell out here in the process, how much money you're losing here, and what do you think needs to change in terms of the cost of doing business in Oakland to make things easier on business owners like yourself if something like this happens to them?
You know, good thing we have insurance. You know, even though the insurance is compensating, but still it's not everything that we have lost. The loss of sales on the day-to-day, and the loss of you know, staff not knowing when they can come back to work full time, and the confidence of if we can ever have the regular return. That's another thing that the insurance company can never really compensate for that. You know, they just compensate on your fixed overhead cost situation. So the damage is in the thousands of dollars in terms of just the perceptions of everything else that's taking so long. And of course the lack of funding. I think the city could definitely do something for small business owner. A lot of us are just working really hard to just kind of keep the bill pays and things. There's so many different policies and rules and regulations and fees that's all happening that's not really stopping, right? Of course, we don't have the volume that we do have like before, but we still have to keep up with all the fees and the rising cost of doing business. So that is something that, you know, us as a city or the state need to really look at, and especially to protect the small business owner, which built America in general, which is becoming smaller and smaller in general, right? You know, it's like all the big companies are taking up, and all the small store or restaurant owner like myself, we just can't keep up with all the fees, and we also don't have the manpower to really, you know, keeping up with. Could we call the city for help? Like my restaurant for 14 years, I really have to shut it down because of the stress and the mental of just having to deal with pandemic and not having the support from you know, our local government, or, you know, our staff have to constantly shift head and do multiple things all at the same time. And just as a small business, we just don't have the bandwidth to compete with the big guy.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and much luck in finally getting those repairs done and hopefully opening up soon. Really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Best of luck
Thank
to
you.
you. And if you would like to show your support and help out the Howden Market in its efforts to reopen its doors to that community in Oakland, you can donate to Kanitha's GoFundMe page. You can find a link to that page up at our website, ktvu.com. Just go there and click on web links.